I came around something that felt genuinely strange. Auto industry experts, people who build and sell cars for a living, stood up at a conference and defended a government policy. Not explained it, not analyzed it, defended it like it was theirs to defend.
Uh, Over the last few days, we've seen a lot of social media chatter regarding how damaging E20 possibly could be to the vehicles. We are here to dispel these concerns.
Usually it's the other way around. Government sells the policy, industry reacts to it. Here, private companies were doing government's PR for it. That's what sent me down this rabbit hole. This video is about India's E20 ethanol blending policy, what it actually does, who it actually helps, and why the people defending it loudest have the most to gain from you not asking the questions. But before that, let's deal with the number the government keeps repeating in every press release. $19.3 billion saved in forex because of ethanol blending. Here's what the number actually is. It's not an annual saving, it's cumulative. The total forex the government says it has saved since 2014, more than a decade, repeated at India Energy Week 2026 by the Petroleum Minister himself, spread over roughly 10 to 12 years, that close to 1.5 to 2 billion dollars a year. Still a real number, but a very different headline than the one being sold to you. And here's the part almost nobody repeats along that number. Government data itself shows that the cumulative payments made since 2014, distilleries received far more than farmers. As of mid 2024, oil marketing companies has paid out roughly $17.29 billion to distilleries compared to $10.44 billion to farmers over the same period. Later government figures for 2026 claim farmer payments have crossed $15 billion over a decade. An improvement, but a structural gap remains. The money is routed through and disproportionately captured by distillery layer and not handed to farmers directly. So when the narrative is this money is going to our farmers, check who's actually cashing the check first. They make a claim that it's only a slight drop in mileage. Even if it's true, a slight drop in mileage means your car burns more fuel to go the same distance. More fuel burned means hurting the pockets of people. So the same policy sold to you as reducing import dependence quietly increases fuel consumption on the other hand and increases fuel costs for the individuals. Claim 2. Formula 1 uses ethanol too. This is the one that actually made me laugh. Let's do the math on this comparison. An F1 team budget cap is around $215 million a season, and a top team routinely spends closer to $350 million once you count everything outside the cap too. That engine is rebuilt and replaced every 4 to 5 races. It's a precision instrument designed for extreme performance over few hundred kilometers, not for a 15-year-old family sedan doing a school run for a decade. Just for fun, I asked an AI how many cars could an average Indian middle class buyer purchase and run for 10 years for an equivalent of a F1 team season budget. The number that came back over 20,000 cars. So next time someone tells you even F1 uses ethanol, ask them if their Maruti or Honda is getting an engine rebuild every 4 races too. Here's the part that should worry you more than the mileage number, the pattern behind this. Indian policy, regardless of which party is in power, has a habit of shifting suddenly. Rule changes, timeline changes, targets get pulled forward or walked back, often with little warning. And then, in the same breath, we ask why foreign investment into India isn't growing the way we like. You can't have it both ways. If rules can bend overnight to suit a political movement or a business lobby, that unpredictability is the tax investor price in. It's not corruption in a cinematic sense, it's just uncertainty, and uncertainty is expensive. Now to the part with highest stakes, food security. And this isn't me speculating, this is a government's own economic survey saying it. The Economic Survey 2025-26 flagged what is called early warning signals. Government pricing policies that favor maize-based ethanol are pulling farmers away from pulses and oilseed. In states like Maharashtra and Karnataka, maize is now competing directly with pulses, oilseeds, soybean, millets, and cotton for the same land. Between FY 2022 and 25, maize production grew nearly 9% a year, while pulses actually declined in both output and area planted. The survey's own warning is blunt. This risks deepening India's dependence on imported edible oils and exposing food prices to more volatility, not less. Then there's water. This is where the sugarcane story gets worse, not better. Independent estimates put the water needed per liter of ethanol at roughly 3,630 liters of sugarcane, 4,670 liters for maize, and staggering 10,790 liters if it is rice based. Niti Aayog itself has warned that the number of Indian cities could hit zero groundwater availability by 2030. Redirecting this much water towards fuel in a water stressed country is not a footnote, it's actually cost of policy that rarely makes it to the press release. And here's the irony, even by government's own stated goal, cutting the fuel import bill. The actual annual saving, once you unpack the cumulative number, are modest relative to the scale of this trade off. A note on how I am framing this. I am not claiming there's a single villain flipping a switch. I am asking whether the trade off, food and water security, for a modest and so far unproven forex benefit, was even properly put to the public before we committed entire industries to it. So, if the economics are shaky, why is this policy moving ahead with so much unified support? Auto industry, sugar industry, and notable silence from the opposition. Follow the ownership structure of sugar cooperatives in India. Most are run as a cooperative societies, made up of large number of farmer members. Those farmers elect representatives to run the cooperative, and those representative positions have for decades doubled as launchpad for political careers. It is well documented pattern in Indian politics, not a new discovery. The concern isn't that cooperative exist, it is how often the money flows toward those representatives and their networks rather than back to the farmers who are nominally the owners. And the muted opposition? A quick look at a public shareholding and directorship records of ethanol and sugar companies in India show political interest across party lines with financial stakes in this sector. I want to be careful here. Having a stake isn't illegal, and I am not accusing anyone of specific crime. But it is a reasonable question for voters to ask, if the people regulating an industry also profits from it, can we trust the regulation to be about public interest? Here's what frustrates me most about this whole story. There were better options on the table. Hydrogen internal combustion, not even fuel cells, just hydrogen ICE, was a viable long term direction for India. It doesn't carry the same food versus fuel conflict, and it doesn't lock the country into the water intensive agriculture problem that ethanol does. But it requires years of R&D investment with no ribbon cutting moment, no quick headlines. Ethanol blending gives politicians a number to announce now. Hydrogen infrastructure gives them nothing to show before the next election. That's the pattern across the board. Money that could go into education and R&D, and the kind of investment that solves problem at the root, keeps losing out to whatever delivers short-term political mileage instead. And on electric vehicles, we are not much better off. India remains heavily dependent on China for battery components and rare earth processing. So between EVs and ethanol, we have built a transport strategy where one part depends on geopolitical rival and the other quietly drains our water table. None of this means ethanol blending is pure evil or that everyone involved is corrupt. Some of the people defending it may genuinely believe it's the right call. But when an entire industry pivots this fast, this uniformly, and this quietly, with almost no political opposition, it's worth asking who actually is driving the decision and who just along for a ride. At the end of the day, the people writing the rules, the people supplying the crops, and the people selling the cars all seem to have been doing fine. It's just the ordinary taxpayer and the ordinary farmer left holding the risk. Neta Babu Vepari, the politician, the bureaucrat, the businessman. Same story, new fuel. If you found this useful, it's my first video on this channel. A subscribe helps more than you think. And if you know more about the ownership structure I mentioned, drop it in the comments. I rather this be a conversation than a lecture. Thank you.